Okay. And let me also do a screen share. Okay. I've got some great words to work through with you guys today. And I'm also happy to answer questions. And we should maybe take any questions that anyone has at the start. So if I said quorum, let's look at that first of all, just to get us going. Quorum, Wikipedia. There you go. A minimum number of members of a deliberate assembly. Well, I guess my English class is a deliberate assembly, right? A body that uses parliamentary procedures such as legislature. Okay, so in official circles, you need to have a certain minimum number of people there to make the decisions if it's to do with government, right? So if in a particular meeting, we were all meant to be there and it only was Monica and I turned up one day, it wouldn't be quorum. We wouldn't be quorate, you see? So, because otherwise we might collude and make some decisions that are not for the benefit of the whole society, right? So that's the general kind of meaning of quorum. Or quorate, right? Spelled like this. Quorate.
Quorate.
Quorate. Attended by a quorum and so have valid proceedings. The decision of a quorate general meeting. Okay? So that word, I mean, I used it just because we were together. In reality, you don't say that word every day of the week. So to answer the unspecified Elham question, how frequently does this word turn up? Not very frequently, not very frequently, but neither is it esoteric. It's not on the edges and boundaries of knowledge. I mean, most people would know what quorum is. Okay, so we've got started. Before I start going through my word list and teaching you things and expressions, it's quite interesting. I think I've got a lot of interesting words to go through with you. A lot that have come up in the press in the last week because I've been reading all about Ukraine, as most of us have, I'm sure. And there's a number of words that have come up that I have said, and my class won't know that word. So I've written it down and I'm going to teach you it along with the expression in the newspaper where that came from. So I'll start working through that list. But before I do that, does anyone have any questions for me? Stuff that's in your mind? Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask those. Gabrielle, you need to go and mute me. Right, I've muted him because he's making too much noise.
I do have a question, but that's nothing to do with all the vocabulary you've sent.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I wanted to know what's the phrase of the word when you want to say that you give something, but there is something in return that you get. For example, here in Argentina, we say es un ida y vuelta.
Yeah. So have you heard of the expression quid pro quo?
Ah, well, it's Latin.
Yes, correct. A favor or advantage granted in return for something. That's what we would say. It's a quid pro quo. So it's a Latin phrase, but we would say it in English because we borrow and steal lots of words from other languages, especially Latin, but also Greek, a few Spanish, quite a lot of French. So we would say that's a quid pro quo. We would also say just in return, right?
Yeah, but it's not exactly that. What I mean is when you, for example, in a relationship, that it's not that one person gives more than the other, but that they are on a level. For example, in the sense of teaching and learning, it's unida y vuelta, because you give and you receive exactly in the same amount.
Right. Okay. Obviously my brain's not working really well. Nothing's really coming to me. Do you know what the word complementary means?
Yeah.
Complementary with an E as opposed to an I. Do you know that difference? I'll come to you in a minute, Fabi. Unless it's got to do with this, then you can interrupt me. So there's complementary here, expressing a compliment. I compliment you on your looks today, or I compliment you on your room, right? I could compliment you. But if I say complementary with an E, it means something quite different. It means combining in such a way as to enhance or emphasize the qualities of each other or another. They had a different but complementary skills. Complementary therapies. So it sounds identical to complementary with an I, but it doesn't mean the same thing. So the boy and the girl, they were really quite different, but they complemented with an E each other very well. Let's look at synonyms. Exchange, trade, substitution, reciprocity. Reciprocate. You do something for me, I'll do something for you. I reciprocate. I don't know if that answers your question, Monica. I'm feeling uninspired this afternoon. I'm sorry, that's as most I can come up with.
Okay, don't worry. It's okay. Now, the thing is that here in our country, we have this a very common expression, unida y vuelta. Es decir, que uno da y, pero it's very colloquial. I was looking for a similar phrase.
Yeah, let's go into Google Translate. Right. Spell for me. Spell the expression.
IDA. And another word is Y. Short V, UE. It's a separate word. It's another. There are three words. The UELTA.
Vuelta. Round trip.
Unida y vuelta with un at the beginning, perhaps.
Like you here, or
yeah, you from one, un.
So it's UN like that.
UN is one word. Another word is IDA. Ahí está.
Well, okay. Google is just saying a round trip. So yeah, it's not giving us any inspiration there, right? We all know what a round trip is, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Let's just park that one, right? Let's just park it. Would they say that same word that you are articulating there, unida vuelta, would they say this word in mainland Spain? Like Alida, would you say that in Colombia? Can you answer?
Oh, yeah. Hello?
Yes. Can you do you say that expression unida y vuelta in Colombia? Or is it peculiar to Argentina?
It's the same. It's the same. For example, this expression is very to use when the persons to need to travel, or you need to buy the ticket. You could say, I need my ticket ida y vuelta in Spanish.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Okay.
But I get that meaning, but Monica is describing a different meaning, a different sense. It sounds like it's being used idiomatically to say about people being complementary to each other, like in a relationship. I've thought of one, Monica. We sometimes say give and take. You heard of that? Give and take? Yeah. Compromise, yeah. Cooperation, reciprocity, teamwork, interplay, adaptability, flexibility, give and take, synonyms. So what's your relationship like? It's give and take. Like we say that in the context of work. Alan, you taking some time out of your work day today to do this class? Yes, but it's give and take. So I take some now, but I give back another time. And most employers take more than, you know, I give more than I take, if you know what I mean, to my employer. Does that make sense?
I think it might fit.
Yeah, give and take, give and take. Right, we'll time out that discussion there. That was interesting. I'm glad I had some idea. Okay. Now, Fabi, did you have a question?
Yes, teacher.
Go ahead.
But it's other thing. You can add my Costa Rican friend to the group, the WhatsApp, so they can see what time to connect.
You've got a question. You've got a question about the WhatsApp group. See, I don't.
You listen.
No. Listen, the WhatsApp thing is completely not important. The important thing is the group in Hello Talk. If people are in Hello Talk, all the announcements go in Hello Talk. The WhatsApp thing is an additional thing. If anybody gives me their number and I add it to the group, I usually send out a WhatsApp as well, because everybody usually looks at their WhatsApps, right? But I only use it to say, hey, class is starting.
Yeah, it's saying it's for the time to take the class.
Yes, and I saw that you put in 10 a.m. there, 10 a.m. In Costa Rican time. I saw that. Yeah. Is there something else you're asking me to do there? I'm a bit confused what you're asking me. Do you want to ask me again? Okay, you're not answering my question, so I don't know if I've answered your question or not. I'm in the dark, Fabi, you're on mute. Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I need to move on. Okay. Right, let me go to my word list now. And I'll work through that with everybody. Got some really interesting words here. Let me just find where I am. My word list has got really long now. Yeah, really long. Okay, so the first word I want to look at with you all is optics. Does anybody know what optics means? And I am not speaking about my glasses. Optics. This is more an American word than a British word, but we do say it in Britain too. But it's definitely, its origin is American. Optics. Right, let me clue you in. If I said, what are the optics of the situation? Anybody know what I would mean? No, okay, that's good.
It's like when you had a different concept or you appreciate different situations.
Correct. Well
Yes.
done, Alida. Well done.
Okay.
Exactly. So let's look at this, what the Google says, right? Optics. Right, so it can be do with the study of light, but that's the basic meaning. That's not what I want. This is the expression I want here too, North American, typically and in a political context. The way in which an event or course of action is perceived by the public. So for example, if we were talking about the invasion of Ukraine, we could say, what are the optics of this situation? Right, that would be a valid question. And then you could qualify that by saying, well, the optics of the situation in Russia are quite different from the optics of the situation in the rest of the world. The rest of the world is unanimously condemning what they've done. But within Russia, there's a lot of approval. However, in Russia, they don't have a free press. And there's lots of stuff, the media is controlled by the government. And therefore, people don't really know the truth. They don't know what's going on. And consequently, they've got a different view of the optics of the situation. The optics. Does that make sense? And I'm conscious sometimes I speak too fast. So it is your responsibility to control the accelerator and slow me down if I'm talking too fast. Say, teacher, please slow down. So somebody give me a thumbs up if that made sense to them, or ask me a question to elaborate further if it isn't clear. I'm getting a thumbs up from Monica, she's got it. I'm also getting a thumbs up from somebody else. Lucky, cool. Right, so that's good. Alida seems to have dropped off. She's coming back though. Okay, there, that's our first new word today, optics. Next word I want to teach you is gravitas. Gravitas. What is the meaning of gravitas? Anyone? It's generally complementary to say that you have gravitas. Let me just send a note out to the WhatsApp group. Anybody know? Right. So here, the Spanish speakers know the meaning of the word grabby, right? Grabby. What does grabby mean in Spanish, Alida or Monica? Grabby.
Grab it.
What? Again? What did you say?
Excuse me.
It's spelled like that, isn't it? Grabby. That's how you spell it in Spanish, grabby. In English, we say grave. Not speaking about where you bury a dead body. That's also spelled grave. But we can speak about a situation as grave. Isn't that right? Grave. And so it means serious. That's what grave means. What's the situation like in Ukraine? It's grave. We would say in English, we would say it's grave. In Spanish speaking countries, you would say it's grabby, because the V sounds like a B. Grabby. I'm right? Yeah, Monica, you confirm I'm right? Yeah. So that is the root of this word gravitas. And so this is what it means. Dignity, seriousness, or solemnity of manner. A post in which he has the expertise and the gravitas. So in order to be a prime minister or president of a country, no matter what age you are or what your gender is, you need to have a certain level of gravitas, right? Dignity, seriousness, solemnity, because there's a big burden on your shoulders running a country. Gravitas. So the opposite of gravitas would be lighthearted. Yeah. Frivolity, frivolous. Okay, gravitas. Does that make sense? Gravitas. Gravitas. Does anyone want to have a go at saying the word, pronouncing it? Gravitas. A very serious quality or manner. Not the same as morbid. Morbid has got to do with death. But you could use it in a similar way, causing or marked by an atmosphere lacking in cheer, like not happy. But you can see there's a nuance of difference between morbid and gravitas. Gravitas is serious. Morbid is lacking all joy. More gravitas. Everyone got that? I'm not getting very much feedback today. I don't know if it's me, if it's you guys. I need a few more thumbs up or people coming off mute and saying, yep, I've got you, I've got this, yep, no problem. Gravitas. Somebody give me a thumbs up.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the morbid, and also I didn't get the antonym of gravitas.
All right, let's go back to gravitas. Gravitas is a serious quality or manner. Here's examples. The new leader has an air of gravitas that commands respect. I respect her because she has gravitas. She's serious. She's a player. She is somebody to be reckoned with. A comic actress who lacks gravitas for dramatic roles. Somebody, maybe who does comedy, she can't get a serious part because she just doesn't have gravitas. Does that make sense, Elham?
Yes.
Right. And then, because I was thinking about this, I threw in morbid, right? Because morbid is in the same milieu as gravitas. But morbid isn't serious so much as lacking all joy. So Eeyore, right, in Pooh Bear is a bit morbid, right? He's morbid because he doesn't have any cheer. There's no cheer in him. A pessimist who's given a morbid introspection and thoughts of death. Yeah, that's what it is to be morbid. Morbid. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's confusing for me because in Argentina there is a very similar word that it's morboso. I don't know if you have heard.
Morose, yeah, like morose. We say morose.
No, morboso, morboso. But it's nothing to do with this.
Okay, all right, yeah,
They
yeah,
are similar in like.
yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, moving on then. Here's a lovely word, a lovely concept. Sublime. Sublime. What does that mean? Anyone? Sublime. Now, how was your meal last night? It was sublime. How was the concert? It was sublime.
It's like amazing.
Yes, exactly. Was that Lucky? Who said that? Who said that? Gabrielle? Well done, Gabrielle. Exactly. It's of the highest quality whatsoever, causing wonder or astonishment. So it's beyond good, right? How was that meal? It was good. Give me a word greater than that. It was great. It was wonderful. It was incredible. If it's the top of the tops, it was sublime. Make sense? Yeah?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the best of the best, right?
Yes, the best of the best, exactly. Yeah, you got it. Okay, sublime. Good word to know. Not ultra common, but good word to know. Okay, now here's a word that nobody will know, I guarantee. Canard. Anybody know what that means? Canard? Yeah, no, nobody will know this word. This is not a common word. A rumor or report of sensational nature. It's a popular canard that the actress died under scandalous circumstances. See, so it's a rumor or report of sensational nature. Synonyms: story, tale, whisper, gossip, scuttlebutt. There's a great word. Scuttlebutt. Scuttlebutt. Elham, what's the scuttlebutt on Iran right now? Yeah, Persia. Right. What's the scuttlebutt? What's the gossip, right? But if there's something, oh, you know, if you heard the canard about so and so, yeah. So that's what canard is. Canard.
Is it like shenanigans?
Shenanigans? Good question. Excellent question. Not exactly the same, but that's a great question.
Thanks.
Yeah, there could be possible overlap there, right? But shenanigans is generally messing about, right? Messing about. Like kids get up to shenanigans all the time, right? Shenanigans. Playful, reckless behavior that's not intended to cause serious harm, right? It's not.
Excuse me.
It's not.
I think that
I'll come back to you, Gabrielle, in a minute. Let me just finish the sentence. It's not really bad behavior, right? Or immoral. You wouldn't typically use shenanigans to describe immoral behavior. Although you could, you know, he and her always, they got up to some shenanigans, you know, last night. That would be an implication of immorality. But in general, it's not used that way. Shenanigans is messing about. It's playful. It's reckless. It's not intended for serious harm. Students engaging in youthful shenanigans on the last day of school. Perfect example. Shenanigans. In contrast, canard is definitely saying that there's scandal here. something that would get written up in the newspaper, something you wouldn't want to become public. You know, shenanigans is messing about, but you wouldn't be hanging your head in shame. But canard, you would be hanging your head in shame if it became public knowledge. Is that clear? Yes? I'm going to take silence as agreement. Right, Gabrielle, what was your question, my man?
Okay, that's canard is like yellow, amarillista in español. It's like the news or the newspaper, like they usually tend to be yellow, to be canard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. They're always looking for that kind of thing to publish it, especially in the cheap magazines. Yeah. Yeah, good point, Gabrielle. Yeah. Okay. I'm taking no more questions as permission to carry on. Cavil. The next word is cavil. Anyone? Anyone know what cavil means? To raise trivial or frivolous objection. The author cavilled about the design of the book's cover. To raise trivial objections, he cavilled the conditions of the agreement. Right? So there's a very similar kind of expression we've got in English called nitpick. To engage in nitpicking. To criticize by nitpicking. Let's look up nitpicking. Her husband nitpicks about everything from how she puts the plates away to how she files the bills. So the idea of a nitpick, well, first of all, what's a nit? A nit is a wee tiny bug that would be in your hair, right? But that's a nit. And in olden days, people are not afflicted with these things anymore, but in the olden days, people had nits in their hair and they used to have to remove it, right? They would call it nitpicking because they didn't want these nits in your hair. So the idea of nitpicking is when somebody is pointing out a trivial error or a trivial mistake. That's nitpicking. And that is not, in general, that is not regarded as good behavior. That's frowned upon. To be called a nitpicker is, it's small-minded people do nitpicking, not broad-minded, not grown-ups, right? Does that make sense? Now that's a much more common word than the previous one, which is was cavil, right? To cavil. Cavil is a kind of more serious word to say the same thing. You're raising objections, but it's frivolous, right?
Can you repeat what nit means?
Nit, yeah. Yeah, let's look it up in a different dictionary. Fussy or pedantic or fault finding. I like that. Fussy or pedantic, fault finding, nitpicking over tiny details. Nitpicking. Right, nitpicking. Let's look up etymology of that. Nitpicking's term first used in 1956. Who knew? It describes the action of giving too much attention to unimportant detail. A person who nitpicks is termed a nitpicker. The terminology originates from the common act of manually removing nits, the eggs of lice, generally head lice, from another person's hair. So here's a woman, and she's removing the nits from that wee boy's hair, you see? And it's a poor family. So that's what removing nits is. Head lice, right? Now, so that's physically where it comes from. But obviously in most society, we don't really do that today, but the term has become used to describe a certain kind of behavior, which is fairly frowned upon. Is that clear, Monica?
Yeah, but is it common?
Nitpicking, very common.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you were saying a word, but your pronunciation was slightly wrong because you've got a Spanish accent, right? I could nitpick your accent. And that would be very ungenerous of spirit of me to do that because you're from a Spanish speaking country.
Okay.
So I would personally hate to be accused of being a nitpicker, and I definitely try not to be a nitpicker. But there are some people, right? And they can't help themselves. They're real nitpicker. I don't like that. You know.
But these words, nitpicking and cavil,
Yeah.
they are synonymous?
Yes, they're kind of like synonyms. Yeah, exactly. Nitpick, synonym.
But is it similar to split hairs or not? Nothing to do.
What a good question. Top marks for that question. Yes. Yes. Make small and unnecessary distinctions. It may seem like splitting hairs, but the distinction could be important. See, cavil's there. See that? Cavil? Quibble? Find fault? Nitpick. Well, this has been very edifying. Edifying means building up. An edifice is a big part of a building. If you were in New York, you look up at the edifices, right? Edifice. If you were at the bottom of a cliff, like El Capitan, you would say, what an edifice. And if we are learning together and helping one another, we are edifying. I run this class for your edification, building you up, right? And we've all learned something, that cavil and nitpick and hair splitting are all meaning the same thing. I'm really impressed you thought of that one, Monica. I am genuinely impressed. Okay.
Thank you.
Right. So we have mastered those words and so on. You can see how splitting hairs is a really hard thing to do. It's really hard to split a hair. If you had a wee, razor blade, could you split a hair? Well, I couldn't, but some people try to do that, right? They try to split hairs. Right. Right. The next word I want to teach you is clock. Clock, right? And everybody thinks they know what clock means, right? It goes tick tock, and it tells the time, right? That's not the word I want to teach you. I want to teach you the word clock used as a verb. Does anybody know what that means? To use the word clock as a verb, not as a noun, not the thing that goes, it's got two hands and tells the time.
I know the word clock in and clock out, but I don't know.
Yes, no, but good point. But clock in and clock out, that's not how I want to use it, but that is a verb. You're right, that is a verb. So let's just explain Monica's interjection there. To clock in is the procedure that businesses, particularly in olden days, had, where you had to sign into work. So you get into a factory and you'd have a piece of paper that was you, and you would clock in and you say, I'm starting at 9:01. And you'd clock out, I'm leaving the office at 5 o'clock. You would clock out. And that would be recorded in your record for purposes of checking punctuality and maybe if you were paid by the hour. That's what clocking in and clocking out meant traditionally. Nowadays, we also say that, but we don't typically clock in, clock out. We might also say check in and check out. Like if you were going to fly in an airplane, if I was flying to Buenos Aires, I would need to check in, right? Check in. But we also say check in other contexts, like check in at a hotel. I've checked in, I've registered, I've now got my key, I'm checked in. Check in, check out. But we also use that expression in common parlance to say, now, I haven't checked in with Monica for a week now because I've not managed to speak to her. So I haven't checked in with her. Haven't checked she's doing okay, right? We would also say check out about a person if they have decided, right, they're just not interested in something anymore, or they've checked out. So somebody might have come to this English class for a few times and then decided they didn't like my accent or they don't like my face and they've just checked out, right? They've just checked out. They've decided to give it a pass. They've checked out. Okay. Now coming back to clock as a verb. What clock as a verb means is if you have noticed something. Notice something. So, for example, I get to know you guys all gradually as you come to the class. And I have clocked who the keen students are. Now notice what I said. I have clocked who the keen students are. Well, how did you do that, Alan? How did you clock them? Well, I have noticed those that return and those that participate. They're the keen students. And also the ones that write things in the group discussion, they're keen students. So I have clocked it. That's an example. Another example. Did you clock what Putin said last night? Did you clock it in the sense of, I noticed it, right? I heard it and I noticed it and I paid attention to it. The girl looked at me and I clocked that she smiled, right? I clocked that she smiled. Clock.
Is that common too?
Yeah, very common, Monica.
Okay. Is it similar to spot?
Spot?
To spot something, yes.
Not exactly the same. Not exactly, but good chat. Good question. First class question. To spot something means generally means to notice something visually in the distance. Not so much remarking on somebody's behavior. You could use it that way. You could say, did you spot he looked a bit jealous? So you could use it that way. But generally you'd say, I clocked he looked quite jealous. You'd say clock. Here you go. Chiefly British. Now, I didn't know this was British before I was saying that. You learn something every day. Every day's a school day. Attain, realize, usually used with up. Just clocked up 1 million paperback sales. No, that's not what I meant. So there was your one there, clock there. I'm not getting an example there. Yeah. What does it mean to clock something? To catch sight of or notice someone or something. To watch someone or something. 1929. The word clock can be used to mean noticed, as in, Bob, I'm going to park here a minute. Did you see any traffic wardens about? Actually, I clocked one down the road on my way up. So that example is the one I'm using. That's how I'm using the word clocked. I'm not sure how widespread this term is, but it's very common here in the Midlands in the UK. I've always thought it a bit of a curious term. Can anyone suggest how its use came about? It's got something to do with time. The OED is the Oxford English Dictionary, by the way, which is the Bible of English, right? But it's quite expensive to get access to it. It used to be a big multi-volume dictionary, but it's all online now, but it costs real proper money to get access to it. The OED's definition of the verb is in this sense, to watch or observe, to look at, notice, slang, and the earliest citation from an American source is dated 1942. At roughly the same time, the verb is also first found as meaning to punch in the face. Clock is first recorded as a noun meaning the human face in 1923, 36 years later, as it found a noun meaning a punch. That's like saying, I clocked him. I get so angry with him, I clocked him, I hit him. We speak readily enough of the face of a clock, so I suppose the extension clock to mean the human face is not very surprising. I always thought of clocking something as becoming aware of a thing, similar to having it on one's radar. Okay, we've done this word to death. Is everybody comfortable what clock means as a verb? To clock or clocking? Yes, I'm getting a thumbs up from Monica and Elham. Good girls, that's great. Right, I'm going to move on. Next word. This is one I read in the press this week. Guise. Guise. Not guys as in guys versus girls, males, but sounds the same as that. But this word, guise. Guise. Can anyone offer me what that means? Guys. Let me give you a sentence. So this sentence doesn't, it's too long for this thing here, sadly. Mr. Putin openly sends his soldiers under the guise of a peacekeeping mission. There is a big question, is there an invasion? So Mr. Putin sends his soldiers under the guise of peacekeeping. Guise. From reading that sentence, can you guess what it means?
Is it like a mask?
I think it's the same as disguise.
You know, Monica, I think you might be right. An external form, appearance, or manner of presentation, typically concealing the true nature of something. He visited in the guise of an inspector. And no doubt, disguise comes from the same thing.
Guise.
A very polite English guise, guise,
Guise.
guise,
Guise.
guise. Yeah. So it's where there's deceit involved, right? There's deceit, duplicity. That's a good word, duplicity and deceit. Pretending. Not genuine. Guys. Guys. When you go to the kitchen and claim that you're there to help, but in reality, you're there to steal a cookie, this is an example of a situation where you go to the kitchen under the guise of wanting to help. That's quite a nice example. A false or deceiving appearance, pretense, manner or way, customary behavior, manner or carriage, misleading appearance, cover, cloak, guise. Okay. Well, that's quite an interesting definition there. Mode of dress, garb, huddled together in the guise of beggars, right? Spoke to me under the guise of friendship. So he was pretending to be my friend, but he wasn't really my friend. But he came in the guise of friendship because he wanted to find something out about me. Okay, we have done, guys. We've been going for an hour, so we're about time's up. But I'll go on for a few more minutes. Right. Now, here's a really good expression. If it quacks like a duck. Right? If it quacks like a duck. Anybody know what that means? So this was James Clapper. He's Barack Obama's former director of national intelligence, right? So this was before the invasion. Let me go back to Google Translate because I can type in here. James Clapper, speaking about the invasion, he said, for me, when Russian troops march into any part of Ukraine on any pretext, then he said, if it quacks like a duck, it's an invasion. Now that sentence at first view is nonsensical, right? So he's saying, for me, when Russian troops march into any part of Ukraine on any pretext, if he left out the bit in the middle, if he left out the bit highlighted here, he's saying it's an invasion. Everybody with me? Makes sense? If Russian troops go into Ukraine, it's an invasion. That's what he's saying. However, he adds in the middle this weird expression, if it quacks like a duck. What on earth does he mean? Anyone? I don't think anyone would know this.
I can guess something
But you
like.
guess. Go ahead, Elham. Go ahead.
Yes, something like. However, he in any way that they try to show it peaceful, still it is an invasion.
Yes.
For me, it's more like if it looks like something, it must be that something.
You got it. You got it, Monica. That's exactly what it means, right? So the full sentence is this, right? Let's just look it up, right? This is the usual expression. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. right? That's the full expression, right? So if it makes a sign of a duck and it swims like a duck and it looks like a duck, it's a duck, right? So it's used to counteract when somebody says, oh, it's not that, right? It's counteracting that logic. Someone says, it's not really an invasion, you know, it's a special military operation. It's for peacekeeping, don't you know, right? The person saying that is lying through his teeth, right? And so what the guy said is he's just giving a shortened format. If it quacks like a duck, right? He's saying that in a shortened form. And I wanted you to know that. I want you to learn this expression. If it looks like a duck and swims like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. But people don't typically say that whole expression. They just say part of it. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, and they don't even finish it because they know what's coming. You see? So people just say, if it looks like a duck. Yeah. If it looks like a duck, or if it quacks like a duck. That's all they say. But everyone knows the expression and knows what it means. What am I saying when I'm saying that? I'm saying it really is that thing. Good thing to know. Everybody comfortable with that? Yes.
With what you said in the end, no. I didn't get what you said.
Did I speak too fast?
In the last sentence, I couldn't get.
I can't remember what it said.
Ah.
I'll just repeat myself a little bit. When people want to say this, if they want to say, it's used to counteract when somebody's saying something is not really what it is. Right. You know this big court case with Prince Andrew. Does that come up in your press over there? Prince Andrew and his relationship with that female. And it went to court and it was settled out of court in the last week. Are you aware of that? No. Okay. It's often used where somebody is trying to say something is not something else, right? It's somebody's denying something. They're denying something. Right. So let's say I stole something, right? I stole something. And I got accused of it, right? And somebody said, you know, hey, you stole that, right? And I said, no, I wasn't. I was just borrowing it. I was just borrowing it. You see? So I am trying to make out it wasn't really stealing, but it was stealing. But I'm trying to make out it's not. And somebody could say to me, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, you know, look, eyeballing me, looking straight into my eye and saying, hey, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. What they're saying is you stole that thing. Right? That's how we would use that expression. Is that clear?
So you stole it, but in the guise of
now you're showing off. You're what's called showboating. Yes, I tried to explain it that it was in the guise of borrowing. So I'm trying to use lesser statements to say that I didn't really steal it, but I really did. And so somebody else who could see that, and it was obvious to them, that they would just say, well, if it walks like a duck, that's how they would answer that. You're guilty, mate. If it walks like a duck. Yeah.
It's a lovely expression.
Yes, it is. It is. And it's powerful, right? Because if you know this expression and know when to use it and use it appropriately, it's like a torpedo or an Exocet missile. It's just so clear what you mean. And it means that the person who is guilty will feel very guilty. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, language is a weapon, right? You know, if you've got good command, you know, you can really put people down, you know. And you can also build them up and encourage them and make them feel good, right? But whatever you're trying to do, it's a weapon, right? So you want to command it, or an instrument, yeah. Right, we're over time, boys and girls. I'll teach you one more word and then we'll finish. And this is also one that is coming from Russia. Refusenik. What is a refusenik? Okay, no offers. A person in the former Soviet Union who was refused permission to emigrate, in particular, a Jewish person forbidden to immigrate to Israel. That's the very original meaning, but that's not how we use it today. How we use it today is this: a person who refuses to follow orders, to obey the law, especially in a protest. You could say it's a bit like maverick, a maverick, right? But the key thing is they're refusing to obey orders, right? So you might say the people protesting in outside the Kremlin are refuseniks, right? Because they are refusing to accept that it's okay for Russia to invade Ukraine, and they're getting arrested. But they know they're getting arrested. They know they're going to be arrested, but they still do it. They are refuseniks. And you could also say the people in Ukraine just now are refuseniks in the sense that they totally reject this advance of Russia. They're refusing to capitulate. They're refusing to bow down and so on, right? So they're refuseniks. So refuseniks, although it's a negative kind of a word, is really a positive thing. Right, somebody's admired for being a refusenik. Is that clear?
Yeah, for example, starting those persons that stop eating as a protest, you can say that they are refuseniks.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. If they're doing it in protest, yeah. So I'm more interested in how it's used in modern times than the original restrictions on the Jews in Russia. You know, that's obviously where it comes from. And that Wikipedia article is all about that. Refusenik is a word. Although refusenik originally had a precise meaning, those denied exit from the Soviet Union, its meaning has sometimes diverged, and basically it always means this other thing from this sense. It began to be used to mean outsider for groups other than Russian Jews, and later to mean those who refuse, rather than the original sense of the word, those who are refused. See, that's interesting. That's a very interesting change in meaning. It's those that they are choosing to be refuseniks rather than those who are being forced to be refused. Yeah. Mikhail Gorbachev referred to himself as the first political refusenik of Russia after buildings of the Gorbachev Foundation were taken by the Russian government, and the country's high court requested that Gorbachev would be forbidden from leaving the country. In the UK, occasionally it's used to mean one who refuses to comply, right? With many people who use it being unaware of the word's origins. That's true. Most people wouldn't know where it comes from. However, The original meaning is preserved and used in parallel, particularly in Israel and Jewish circles, about the historical events from which it emerged. A refusenik. So if I said to you guys, right, I'm going to set you some homework for next week and you need to do it, right? And no refuseniks allowed, right? What I'm saying is you can't refuse me. I'm a teacher, you've got to do it, right? I don't set you much homework, so you can't be a refusenik, right? Or somebody might say, I'm sorry, I've been a refusenik this week, I can't do it. I refuse to do it, right? Not super common. Not like the word maverick. The word maverick is super common. A maverick. A maverick is somebody who you can't tell them what to do, that they do whatever they want to do. That's a maverick. And that could be complementary or could be critical. It depends on the context. I was once described by my manager in IBM as a maverick. I took it as a compliment. You always do what you think's the right thing, Alan. That's what you do. You do. That's what you do. That's right. His name is Bert. Yes, Bert, that I do. Says you're a maverick. I took it as a compliment. Okay. Stop share. Mona, you've arrived. When did you arrive?
Hi, teacher. How are you?
You didn't speak. I didn't even know you were in class today. I'm well.
Excuse me for my delay. I had headache, unfortunately, because of that. I was not here.
Okay. But you thought that the English class would cure your headache.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Come to Alan's English class. It cures your headaches. There you go. Very good. I like it. Like it. Well, nice to see everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you for those who've joined for the first time. Welcome to Gabrielle. And
Thank you,
lucky,
teacher.
these two guys are outnumbered by the females. But thanks for joining, guys. I appreciate it and hope you enjoyed the class. I will put the recording of the class on the group chat, so you'll see that. And for those who were not able to attend, who would like to have attended, they can watch that. All right.
Thank you.
The next class is going to be Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Now, it's no good for certain people. It's no good for Monica. It's no good for Elham. And it's no good for Alida. But anybody who's east of me, Mona, and my Chinese friends, it's good for them. So I'll continue to do that. Okay. All right, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.